right? Anyone here not know that? Okay. So we decided that it made sense to have a conversation and go to some of the experts, to have them give us a little insights as to what adventures await us on the other side of this journey. And so we have a panel here of folks who have actually been dealing with this issue, in some cases for a number of years. So on our panel today, starting right here next to me, is Marilee Scarbrough, who's General Counsel for the Vancouver Public Schools, and she has been in that position for 5 years, advising the school district and its administrative staff. Next to her is Amanda Bora, who is the implementation analyst that is working with the committee that's writing the rules and getting everything ready for the Oregon recreational marijuana law. And next to her is Kathleen Sullivan, who is General Counsel for the Colorado Association of School Boards. And she has been in that position for about 10 years now. So there is a wealth of knowledge and information here, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys have to share with us.
And I'd just like to start by clarifying that when Lisa said we've been dealing with these issues, that we're really just advising about these issues and not actually dealing.
Thank you for that clarification, Kathleen. And I wanted to say we're experts because we study the issue, not because we use the substance. That's for me. Okay. So wow, this conference could be called Hot Topics in Education. As I listened to the presenter this morning about cyberbullying, and then Jolly about transgender, and now we're talking about marijuana. You know, so it's just amazing. Right? So I'm excited about sharing with you what we've learned.
Very depressing.
In
We're going downhill. Called the last days of
I'm excited
Rome.
about being here in Eugene. I'm an alumni of the University of Oregon Law School, so it's kind of neat. It's great to be back in Eugene. It's been a while since I've been here. I went to a little restaurant last night, and they were playing some of the music that I listened to back in the 80s, so it was really deja vu. The same Sly and the Family Stone song was still playing. So what I'm going to do this afternoon in my portion of the presentation is talk to you from the Washington perspective. We're a little bit ahead of Oregon on the legalization of recreational marijuana. So we've had some experiences, but I also want to talk to you about it from the school district perspective. How might this appear? How might you have to deal with this as a risk manager, as a superintendent? How might this present itself as a principal or whatever your role is in the school setting? One thing I love about being general counsel for the Vancouver School District is we have a very proactive school district. It happened long before I got there, but this district has a long tradition of putting systems in place, putting documents in place, putting trainings in place, so that we're not reactionary and we get ahead of the curve. So by the time the panel discussion ends today, I hope one of your takeaways will be some tools that you can use in your district in consultation with your association and your attorney to get ahead of the curve on issues around recreational marijuana. So let's get started. My objectives are to identify for you a quick and effective staff communication tool regarding prohibition of recreational marijuana, to effectively and strategically show you how to effectively and strategically update your district's drug policies and regulations, and to show you how to systematically and uniformly train your staff on how to maintain a drug-free environment. We hope to do those, cover those three areas in my portion of the presentation. So, why is it important to talk about the legalization of recreational marijuana? I'm glad you asked. The first reason is because in Washington, like in Oregon now, it's the law. In Washington, our law provides that, I think there's about 20 other states that have decriminalized marijuana use. But in Washington, you have to be 21 years of age or over. You cannot use it in public. People are not supposed to walk down the street smoking, not supposed to smoke in parks or other public places. In the Washington law, there are some parameters about how much individuals can purchase when they go into a recreational marijuana shop. It's still illegal to drive under the influence or to sell. That's the outline of the marijuana law in Washington State. Another reason it's important for you to know about the legalization of recreational marijuana, it's a huge business in Washington. And I think eventually in every state that has legalized recreational marijuana will become a big business. I looked at some statistics. In 2014, the adult use sales in Washington was 18.6% of the sales across the country. 1 year later, in 2015, the sales in Washington state were half of all the sales across the nation of marijuana use. That's huge. But what does it tell me as a school district attorney? And what does it tell you as employees working in school districts? Some of your employees are using, they're purchasers, and they're users. So we can't stick our heads in the sand and pretend like all our employees are mature, but they may also, as they're allowed to by law, consume marijuana at home in the privacy of their own homes. That's another reason we're talking about this. The other point on this slide, last year in Vancouver, our little city of Vancouver, Washington, received almost $800,000 in sales for legal marijuana. Now, I realize there's lots of points of view about whether marijuana should be legal or not, but to the point about some of your really responsible employees may be users, this is a guy called Rick Steves. Some of you have probably read his books. Some of you have probably used his advice to go on a trip. He's an authority on European travel, has his own television show, a huge proponent of the legalization of recreational marijuana. I know there are also people that are opposed to marijuana, are con to marijuana, but the point here is that you might have an exemplary teacher, exemplary principal, that's also a purchaser and consumer of marijuana. And that's another reason that you should be aware of what steps you can take to make sure that your school premises remain drug-free, despite the individual's choices. So, what are some mitigating factors that are going to assist you as a school district, since we know that there's lots of marijuana sales going on? And we have a couple that we want to look at. The first one is, in Washington, there are some protections in the law for us, particularly to protect children. The law in Washington says that marijuana cannot be sold within 1,000 feet of an elementary school, of playgrounds, of recreational centers, childcare centers, public parks, school bus stops. It cannot be sold within 1,000 feet. Neither can there be advertising of marijuana within 1,000 feet of these establishments. That provides some assistance to us because we're all about protecting children. So that's one mitigating factor that we'll find in the law. Another mitigating factor is what our Department of Justice has done. Now this slide is a little misleading because the U.S. government did not surrender on legal weed. They agreed not to challenge states that passed the law for recreational marijuana. But what the Department of Justice has said is they set priorities. I've listed the 3 priorities here that are the top 3. The first one is most relevant to us as people who are concerned about children. The number 1 priority of the Department of Justice is to prevent distribution of legalized marijuana to minors. Their number 2 priority is to prevent marijuana from going to criminal enterprises. As you can see, number 3 is to prevent it from going to states where marijuana is not legal. But the federal government has reserved a right to intervene. So they listed this list of priorities, number 1 being protecting minors. But they said to states, we as the federal government reserve the right to intervene because we don't like the direction that things are going in your states regarding our top priorities. That's good news for us because at least in Washington, that means when our Liquor Control Board developed their rules for recreational marijuana, they were very careful to maintain protections for children and making sure that recreational marijuana did not get into the hands of children. So that's a mitigating factor, and we'll talk about one more before we go to our next slide. The third mitigating factor I want to mention to you is community partnerships. In the city of Vancouver and Clark County, we have an organization called Prevent Clark County. They have a website, you can Google and go to their website. And they have a program that's all about reducing youth substance abuse. As you can see from the slide, they collaborate with a number of community partners, with our parents, with our youth, with our faith-based community, to educate young people on the dangers of drug use. Recently, Prevent Clark County received a $250,000 grant to help focus on marijuana use prevention and helping youth to understand the dangers of marijuana. So another mitigating factor is for you to collaborate with your community partners on helping our young people to understand just because it's legal for adults, it's still not a good idea for young developing brains to partake in marijuana use. So what basic information does your staff need to know? And I think it's important for us to talk a little bit about the substance and a little bit about the use and how it's used today, because it's changed perhaps since you last discussed this topic. Anybody ever heard of this movie? Those from the 70s and 80s? I remember in the college days, this is a movie called Reefer Madness. You can look at it on YouTube these days. It's a 1936 movie.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very melodramatic. It's all about the harmful effects of the use of marijuana. It was designed back in 1936 to discourage young adults from using the substance. And it had in this little 30-minute movie, it had every ill effect that can happen to mankind in that clip. Wow. And I'm showing it to you today because the substance has changed since 1936. And the potency, I understand, has changed since 1936. When you talk to your staff, it's not what they might remember from that era. This slide shows you more about what we're dealing with today. Marijuana is just not that little rolled up cigarette anymore. Actually, the law provides for edible products. Yeah, I didn't know this until I started looking at the issue more closely. But you'll see that there's a little slide down there. Instead of almond joy, it's ganga joy, because it has marijuana. Instead of Twizzlers, it's twig. So your stash should be, there's even a marijuana tea. It comes in all kinds of forms. You can see the other slide with a little jar of substance in it. There's a concentrate that people use. And then there's the e-cigarette. Just last week in Washington, our governor signed a new law that was passed by our legislature to limit the access for young people to e-cigarettes. The legislator who sponsored the bill was quoted as saying that students were smoking in the back of the classroom, right in front of the teacher, and there was no odor, and the teacher wasn't aware that they were smoking marijuana in the e-cigarettes. So now the law prohibits e-cigarettes on our campuses. It's a criminal offense for a student to possess an e-cigarette, and they can be issued a citation. So when your staff is trying to figure out what's going on, like I said, it might not look like a little roll of cigarettes. And the e-cigarette can look like a fountain pen. It's very discreet, it's very obscure, and now they're prohibited in Washington. Maybe one of the other panels can give you the status of the e-cigarette here in Oregon. So, to our first objective, we want you to be able to identify a quick and effective staff communication tool regarding the district prohibition of recreational marijuana. And as we go through our three objectives, I have some scenarios we're also going to discuss. And these might be strategies that you want to put in place in your school district. Schools for years, since 1988, we've had drug-free, alcohol-free school zones. That's not new. And that did not change with the allowance of recreational marijuana. The first step we took in Vancouver was to notify our staff, and you can't read this, but it's in that packet of material that's in all of your packets, the written material that I handed out is a copy of this letter. The day after the initiative passed in Washington, November 6th. On November 7th, we sent out a one-pager to every staff member in our district, a one-page flyer. It was succinct, it underlined our key points, and it highlighted some of the 4 points we want them to be aware of.
It's on the back page.
Explain to them that marijuana is legal for you to smoke in your home. It's not legal on our campuses. So let's look at that. The first part is highlighted. The Vancouver School District remains a drug-free zone. Sounds like a no-brainer, but you'll see in a little bit that this notice will help you down the line. If you're ever involved in disciplinary action, staff members can't say they didn't know, they weren't aware, nobody ever told them. We try to make it as plain as possible that we remain a drug-free zone. In addition to that, we highlighted the 4 key points that we felt was essential for our staff members to know. It's prohibited, marijuana or an infused product, that you cannot be under the influence on our campus, that you can't come to work under the influence, you can't smoke at 6 a.m. and come to work at 8 a.m. and have it impact your job. And you can't possess that substance on our campus. So this is a quick, easy strategy that you can use. You can take our form and amend it, change it, use it to fit your needs, consult with the attorney for your district. But we found this is an effective way to get the word out so that there's no doubt about where we stand with recreational marijuana. Objective number 2. You need to effectively and strategically update your policies and regulations if you haven't already. Every school district across the country has a drug-free, alcohol-free policy. What we found in Vancouver is that we wanted to look at that policy again and make sure that it had unambiguous language and very specific language to meet our needs.
And I thought I'm going to talk a little bit about policy implications too, but we took the same approach at CASB. I love your notice to the employees right out the door. We also recommended updating that drug-free workplace policy to make clear that marijuana is still covered by it, to actually identify it using the term within the policy itself. And at the same time, and I think I noted this in your materials too, we also took that as an opportunity to update that policy to reference the improper use of prescription pills, because that's the other drug-related employee epidemic that we're seeing. And so making sure that if you're going to go ahead and update that policy, that you look at both of those issues. And that's in the materials that I provided to you.
Great, thanks for that. So the board policy and procedure becomes the foundation for your training and the foundation for any staff discipline if it becomes necessary. And I'll use kind of a three-step process that I want to share with you this afternoon of what we did in Vancouver to make sure that we had language that would protect our district and protect our students. Step 1, as Kathleen mentioned, take a look at your drug-free, alcohol-free policy. If it doesn't specifically say cannabis or marijuana and marijuana-infused products, my recommendation is you work with your school board association, you work with your school attorney to add that language. You can see the language we added in Vancouver. We chose to use the word cannabis at the bottom there, and including products infused with those substances. You be very specific. You don't want an employee saying, well, it just said drugs, and now that marijuana is legal, I really don't consider that a drug. You don't want to open the door to that kind of an armament. No matter how frivolous it may sound, you want your documents to be well written. So I mentioned that we're going to have a couple scenarios. Here's the first one. We call it a grab bag scenario. An employee leaves a baggie of marijuana in a sweater pocket. As he is teaching class, students spot the marijuana. One student grabs the bag and says, "What is this?" The teacher hurriedly sticks the substance back in his pocket and says, "Nothing, now get back to work." News of the incident spreads rapidly and eventually reaches the principal's office. If you're the principal, what do? Hopefully,
You can't do that. He's gone. Bring in his union representation.
I wish we had time for all of you to talk about the question. And if you can do that at your break time. But what do you do? This is how this marijuana may show up in your school district. Hopefully you set out some kind of notice. Marijuana is prohibited on our campus, so that teachers are aware of that. Hopefully you've updated your policy, so there's probably going to be a conversation with the principal of this employee. And you can say, look, our policy prohibits this. We've sent you the notice, and then you can do your investigation, and if necessary, you can take the appropriate disciplinary action. Everything's going to be on a case-by-case determination.
And if I can just add to that, the way we're seeing this get done in Colorado now is they're just having a lot more dogs in the buildings. And it was only the first couple of times that I saw people scatter to the employee parking lot. And then that stopped. But it is much more common to see drug-sniffing dogs in our schools now and all over the Denver airport also. But that's, as a practical reality, it had them checking their sweater pockets.
Yes. We want our staff to come to school blood-free. So we haven't gone to dogs yet, but how many people think this is a real scenario that really happened?
Oh, yeah.
You're right, really happened. All right, let's go to the next one. Step 2 that I recommend regarding your policy procedures, make sure that the language regarding in your policy describes what it will take to prove whether you can discipline or not, says detectable level of alcohol and drugs, and not just under the influence. In our old policies, it might have been okay to say under the influence, because you can measure under the influence of alcohol. You can tell when somebody's under the influence of alcohol. But with marijuana, it's my understanding that currently, as of today, there is no way to tell the level of intoxication with marijuana. They can tell it's in someone's system, but they can't tell whether it's to a level of intoxication. I'm sure that there's some scientists working on that at this moment, and it will happen eventually. But as of today, if you have a policy that says you have to be under the influence, and then you test that employee, and it shows in their system, that employee can say, yeah, it was in my system, but I wasn't under the influence. Again, we don't want to go down that road. We don't want to have to defend that argument, even if we feel that it has no merit. So we want policy language that clearly says detectable level of alcohol and drugs. And you'll see at the bottom what we did in Vancouver is we use the term under the influence, but then we define it as noticeable use, any detectable level of alcohol or drugs in the employee's blood or urine, or any noticeable or perceptible impairment of the employee's mental or physical status. Okay.
I like it. So your green letters are what you added.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So speaking of drug testing, in Washington, the only employees in the school setting that we randomly drug test are our bus drivers. But it's for the reasons that I just mentioned, because there's no test to tell whether somebody's under the influence. That's why we want that language about any detectable level. Because if a bus driver has an accident, the first thing that we do is to do a drug test. So you want to make sure that you're not going to get an argument on the back end that, oh, I wasn't impaired. No, if there's any detectable level of that substance in your system, the district reserves the right to take disciplinary action. Now, if you get law enforcement involved, they'll be able to do the test, but still, law enforcement can't tell whether somebody's under the influence. They can only tell whether there's that substance in the system. So let's try our second scenario, secondary high. So you have an exemplary teacher, revered by students and respected by colleagues. The teacher greets you as you enter the building on a Tuesday morning. You think you smell the odor of marijuana, but you tell yourself, oh, it's probably something else. The next day, Wednesday morning, you intentionally position yourself so you can greet this teacher entering the building. This time, you are sure it's the strong smell of marijuana. You have no other indicators. Maybe there's no red eyes, there's no slurred speech. If you're the administrator of that building, what do? Again, these are the kinds of questions that may come up. You classroom for a couple of days. We're going to drop by, see what they're doing. We have somebody talking about investigations later, so we're not really going into that piece. My point here is you want to have a policy that you can use if you need to, and you want to have that notice that you send out to all your staff about recreational marijuana not being allowed on your campus or any of the infused products. But what if you start your investigation and this teacher says to you, I don't use marijuana, but my husband has terminal cancer. He smokes every day for the pain. What if this teacher says to you, I don't smoke marijuana, but my husband just lost his job. He's terribly depressed, and he does smoke. Different scenario. What if it's a kid that's coming in every day smelling like marijuana? These are the kinds of scenarios that you may encounter now that recreational marijuana is legal. And I know you're saying, Marilee, give us the answer. I will not give you an answer. There are no answers. It's going to be a case-by-case determination. But again, from the perspective of our presentation, is you do everything you can for a proactive stance to get the notice and your policy in good shape. Because those are your key tools if you do need to implement some kind of discipline. It could be that this teacher is in a situation she has no control over, he has no control over with the smell of marijuana. Okay. So, third and final step in updating your policy and reg. Make sure that your district's policy and reg includes drugs prohibited by state or federal law. Again, you just don't want to open the door to somebody making a frivolous argument. It's legal in the state, okay? In Vancouver, you can see at the bottom, we have the language, drugs prohibited by state or federal law. No ambiguity in your policy, prevent anyone from challenging your policy. We have one case from the Washington State Supreme Court. This is a picture of a gentleman using medical marijuana. But the case in Washington is Roe versus Teletech. The employees, she used a pseudonym. Roe is not her real name. She didn't want people to know this was her condition. She was an employee at Teletech. She applied for a promotion to a supervisory position. In order to get that supervisory position, there was a mandatory drug test. She took the drug test. She failed to tell her employer that she was a medical marijuana user. Drug test came back positive for marijuana. Instead of getting promoted, she got fired. She filed a wrongful termination claim in Washington, and the decision was very favorable from a school district or public employer perspective, even though this was a private employer. The Washington State Supreme Court said that the laws that allowed medical marijuana did not protect her employer from taking disciplinary action for her use of marijuana. We believe that would be the same outcome for our public employers in Washington State, that we can take disciplinary action, whether it's medical marijuana or whether it's recreational marijuana. So we feel pretty good about that. Last scenario, medical marijuana, question mark. Mary J. has a prescription for medical marijuana. Mary confides in a colleague that she is now addicted to recreational marijuana, and she smokes almost every day. Colleague tells Mary to advise the principal. If Mary doesn't confess, the colleague plans to inform the principal. Colleague informs the principal. What do? My goal here is to help you see various scenarios how this can come up. This is a challenging one because I don't really know if this person truly has a medical condition. Does the person have a medical condition? Did the district know about it beforehand? Did they know about the medical marijuana use? Does this person need counseling? Do they need some extra assistance from HR? This would be one you would definitely want to consult with your school district counsel about before taking action. What does the union contract say about these kinds of issues? But this is how it can show up in your school district. Who thinks this is a true scenario?
Oh, yeah.
Fewer hands this time. It's true. And our last objective, helping you to systematically train your staff on how to maintain a marijuana-free environment. In Vancouver, we conduct lots of training for our staff. And when I say staff, we train our custodians, we train our food service workers, our bus drivers, our teachers, our principals, school administrators, and we do that in several ways. I consider that one-page flyer that we send out, that's training. And we can track, when we send out an email like that to all staff, with our computer system, we can track if the staff received it, that they opened it, and when they opened it. So we know that staff person got that email. That's part of training. We also have online training modules. In August of every school year, each staff member, including myself, are required to do a 1-hour training that's online. We go through it, it's paid time for the employees. It covers a variety of topics. It covers sexual harassment, it covers boundary invasions, it covers bullying, harassment, and intimidation. And again, the system is set up so that our HR staff can tell if Marilee has completed her training. If I haven't completed my training by October, they send me a little email that says, Marilee, you need to complete your all-staff training. Another way to get this information out to your employees. And of course, we do in-person training. I personally train principals and special ed managers and our substitute employees and all of our new employees. So there's various strategies that you can use, but it's very important when it comes to discipline that your staff have the correct information.
And I would just add that we don't have that sort of technology, although it sounds awesome. Colorado has a lot of really small rural districts that wish they had the ability to do that sort of follow through. And with those members, we've recommended that they go old school. We still have a state law on the books that requires us to have a signature from every student that they've received the discipline code every year. And in those smaller communities that don't have the technology resources are having employees sign acknowledgement and review of employee handbooks so that we can have that specific documentation that they received proper notice in the event we need it in the discipline hearing.
Right, understood. And a lot of the districts in Washington are small, and Oregon, they're small districts. Yes, so use the strategy that works for your district. And the key point is the one that Kathleen just mentioned. We want to be able to document that we provided that information to our staff in the event that we need it. I like to use a lot of pictures when I do my in-person training for my staff. As you can see in this presentation, this is one picture that I use when I'm training staff. It's from Time Magazine, July 2014. And as you can see, it says pot is legal in Washington, but it can still land you in jail. And I use this slide, and I tell my staff that it can still get you fired. And they tend to remember that too. This is another slide that I often use in my training. This has to deal with alcohol, but it has the same consequence as a violation of our drug policy. This is a story about an exemplary teacher, as you can see, in the Seattle School District. She went on a field trip, she had 2 drinks, and she said it would cost her her job, and it did. The word got back that she had had 2 drinks. She pled with the Seattle School Board to keep her job. Got a lot of media attention, so I'm not telling you anything that's not already in the public arena. And the school board said we cannot do that. Our policy prohibits consumption of alcohol. When you're on the nickel's dime, you violated that policy. We have to fire you. And by all accounts, she was loved, and I would say adored by her colleagues as well as her students. And just last week, she was in Superior Court in Seattle on a wrongful termination claim, fighting still to get her job back. There was a news story about the superintendent of the Seattle School District testifying that he had to fire her because of the policy the board had adopted, and he did not have a choice. So I use this to bring home the point to our staff. We like you in our district. We want to keep you in our district, but we don't have an option if you violate our drug and alcohol policy. So don't have a lapse in judgment. Be very careful about what you do when you're on our premises or teaching our students. Last couple slides about training your human resources and security staff. It's really important to have them trained. I've highlighted the first 2 bullets up there. They really need to know what your policy and procedure says. And If you have a method for verifying employee training, that's a great strategy to use as well. So, to avoid a bigger problem, update your training materials as needed. This is an emerging area of the law. Every day there's a new article about marijuana and the impact it's having on our communities, and the legalization of it, and they provide that training annually.
I didn't think they could.
So, in summary, for my section, if you haven't tried the one page to notify your staff, it's a quick, easy document to create and send out to everyone. Update your district's policies and regulations. I won't go through each point, but there's 3 of them that I would recommend. Work with your school board association, work with your school district attorney to make sure that you have a policy that cannot be challenged easily and definitely is not ambiguous.
Yes, we do.
And thirdly, provide that annual
Starts
staff
with our
training.
committee.
Thanks so much.
Oh, there's more.